Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today we'll be looking over how L and Light went about going after each other and seeing how they could have done better and who would have won if they played nearly or exactly perfect. We will exempt both characters avoiding each other as solution for obvious reasons. The point of this is for both characters to try and beat the other. This means for Light to kill L while drawing the least amount of suspicion to himself and for L to prove Light is Kira without risking his own life as much as possible. For this I will be taking into consideration previous videos of mine such as how to beat L, how to beat Light, and who had the bigger advantage in Death Note. I will be creating my own version of the story as to describe the events in a way as if it were its own story. For the beginning we see things mostly go the same way for the current story. Light sees the notebook and ends up taking it home with him. He is reluctant to believe such a thing is real but decides to test it out on a criminal from a live broadcast. Light could have decided to kill this criminal in a more subtle way, such as having the criminal kill himself during the broadcast, which would have prevented L from narrowing down Kira to be living in Japan. But since Light didn't believe the notebook to be real in the first place and not any single other person in the world would either, we'll keep this in as Light killing this person wasn't technically a mistake since there wasn't any real reason in believing it was real anyways. With this, L uses this information and deduces that Kira is potentially living in Japan. Light wants to kill criminals and ride the world of rotten people, but before Light goes on his killing spree, he tests the notebook's abilities out so as to more effectively kill criminals, which allows Light to know of more ways to use the Death Note without drawing suspicion to himself and figuring out the capabilities of the notebook if anyone were to pursue him. Light now knows the limitations of the notebook and he killed these test criminals, some with heart attacks and some without, as to draw less suspicion. He gets his results through the internet several days later and is now more prepared. Light also creates duplicate notebooks that match the real Death Note just in case. Light also takes out as many pages of the notebook as he can and keeps them on himself while burying the real notebook somewhere only he can find and only killing people with the pages he ripped out. Light continues killing criminals with heart attacks as he wants to be recognized. Light makes sure that he kills criminals across the world through the internet, which makes it harder for him to be tracked as well. Light kills criminals at different times of the day at random, so there is no correlation to any specific region on the planet. However, L managed to find the one incident of a criminal being killed live only in Japan. With this, L decides to pursue Japan and creates the live broadcast that he staged as worldwide but in reality is only happening in Japan. Light sees this broadcast and is insulted by L calling him evil. While Light feels offended by this person, he doesn't kill him immediately on live television. Instead, Light decides to pursue L more quietly. L doesn't get any reaction from Kira from his broadcast, but still thinks Kira might be in Japan because of the criminal dying live while only being broadcast in Japan. Light decides to keep tabs on L through investigating the police and finds out that L thinks Kira is in Japan. Light realizes that L could become a potential threat, so he decides to pursue L and attempt to kill him. Because Kira is killing people across the world and at random times, L believes Kira can control the time of death for his potential victims. Light asks his father if he is working on catching Kira as a police officer. Light informs his father on a strategy to which the police could potentially catch Kira. Light admits to investigating Kira and informs his father that while investigating, he noticed that there was a live broadcast in Japan that had a criminal die of a heart attack. Light points out that this suggests that Kira could be in Japan. Furthermore, during Light investigating the criminals' deaths, he noticed that all the criminals who died had their names and faces revealed and that all the criminals that had one of these things are both absent, that they haven't died. The chief is impressed by this as he knows that L made the same deduction. Light thinks up a way for the police to potentially catch Kira. Light insists that his father try and organize criminals under certain methods as so only certain resources have access to certain criminal information. This way it makes it hard for Kira to get access to get criminal information, and if Kira does kill any of these criminals, the police will know where Kira got the information from. As well, Light suggests that each individual police officer keeps one specific piece of information regarding Kira, such as one police officer holding on to the heart attack victims. Another police officer holds on to the idea that Kira is Japan, etc. Light says to do this to make it harder for Kira to keep track of the investigation in case Kira ever decides to go after the police. Light asks his father if he can do this with the police and other resources. The chief takes this information and ends up sharing it with L. L asks of whom this information came from, and the chief tells L that it was his son who noticed these details and that his son has helped the police on precious cases before. L is also impressed by Light's plan and the things he found out about Kira. L decides to take Light's information into consideration while also keeping tabs on Light in case of any more information. Light waits until he sees the police and acts his plan by hacking into his father's computer. Once Light notices the police are doing his plan, he knows L is also going along with it. Light waits at least a month before reacting to the police using his plan. Light then kills criminals that are only accessible through police information as Kira, which Light will knowingly allow L to deduce that Kira got access to police information. Light could also look up other officers' names, write them down and have them reveal what personal information they have kept secret about Kira or criminals' names, and then later have them die of an accidental death by being killed by a criminal in the off chance criminals' names are only restricted to certain officers. L becomes suspicious of the police and has the FBI come to Japan to start investigating people connected to the police. L provides the FBI agents with fake ID badges as well as their own belt that allows them to contact Watery if they're ever in trouble. The FBI agents start investigating police, including the Yagami family. Light notices someone following him and assumes it to be part of the Kira investigation. Light doesn't react to this information at all and instead acts as he always does and doesn't change anything about Kira and the actions Kira takes. Light waits to see when the person stops following him. Once they do, Light starts investigating other police members himself as to see which of them is being followed. He waits roughly a couple weeks while keeping watch over other police members. Once Light sees another member of a police officer being followed, he watches over the stalker to see where they might live. Light might be able to find out who the stalker is without direct contact but by observing the stalker. Even if not, Light would still find others associated with that stalker and potentially be able to manipulate them as well, such as discovering Ray Penber's name as well as Naomi Misora's name. Light might not learn the stalker's name, but he will know other associates as well as locations which they are staying. If Light isn't able to learn of the stalker's real name like this, he writes a criminal to take hostage a mall or store which the stalker is stalking frequently goes to. The criminal takes hostage everyone in the store with a fully loaded gun, which includes the current person being pursued by the stalker and the stalker themselves. The criminal is written down to take all the possessions of everyone there, including wallets and ID, asking everyone to empty their pockets. Once he gets everyone's belongings, he gets away to cover in their abandoned building where he hides everyone's belongings where only Light could find them. The criminal then runs away from this location several blocks away where he gets tired and the police catch him. A week or so later he dies of a heart attack. Ray would most likely tell L about this incident. L might suspect Kira might be involved in this, and if he does, he would suspect whoever the stalker was following. L would also make the other FBI agents aware to be extra careful who they're following. As well, L would tell all the other FBI agents as well as their superiors to not share any information with the other FBI agent, Ray Penber, and to contact L if Ray Penber does attempt to get any information from the mall. Meanwhile, Light looks through the belongings left behind and finds the belongings that match the stalker. He finds two separate ID, one which is real and one which is fake, but Light wouldn't be able to tell the difference. However, Light can write down both names and the same details of death. The details should be written as the person's name, Ray Penber, heart attack, dies, 1 p.m. in the afternoon. Bringing his phone and laptop with him before he leaves home. While stalking someone, he randomly decides to go to an abandoned warehouse around 11 p.m. and finds a walkie-talkie and transceiver which he turns on and uses. He then listens to and does whatever the person on the other end says, this being Light. Light asks Ray Penber all the information about the FBI agents in Japan. After this, Light tells Ray to request FaceTime video call with his supervisor, suggesting that he needs to show him something. In the FaceTime call, Ray takes a screenshot and requests to have the identities and contact information of all the FBI agents working in Japan so that he can work together with them on this case and to send it to all the other FBI agents in Japan as well. If Ray can't take a screenshot, Light can still observe the FaceTime on Ray's computer from a distance behind Ray using binoculars to zoom in and see his superior's face. Light could then ask for the supervisor's name from Ray. The supervisor would deny this request because of what L told him. Ray would end the call but share the screenshot as supervisor with Light. Light can write down the supervisor's name and receives the information. Light tells Ray to go back about his daily duties and Ray goes back to stalking the individual as before. Light can then check the FBI agents' names and faces and write them down as well. All the FBI agents die at 1 p.m., same as Ray Penber. L receives the news about all the FBI agents' deaths as well as being aware of a file sent to all of them. L is further suspicious about the person Ray Penber was following as he was the first to receive the file and a strange incident happened to him prior to all the FBI agents' deaths. The FBI decide to no longer work with L in fear of Kira and the Japanese police become suspicious of L. This information would reach Light as well and he'd offer to help. His father, while angry, Light tries to explain to his father why what L did was necessary. Chief Yagami would understand it coming from Light and Light himself, or the chief could explain it to the rest of the police why it was necessary and that Kira might have gotten access to police information, thus it was necessary to investigate them. This would further L's trust in Light. The police would still be afraid of Kira, knowing that he'll kill anyone who chases after him. L is forced to accept all the help he can get from whichever police members are left, and would also likely ask for Light's assistance. L would still want to retain his anonymity, so he could easily have Watery go as his stand-in, feeding him information and listening to their conversations through an earpiece. Everyone meets up at a hotel together to discuss Watery as L describes his suspicions on Ray Penber in particular and the person he was stalking, believing that person to be the prime suspect. We'll call this false suspect of being Kira, as Kira, L's prime suspect of being Kira. Now, Light has a main connection with L. Light can't be sure if this is a real L or just a stand-in for L, so Light can't kill him just yet. However, if this person Light is meeting is a stand-in for L, then they will surely know of L's whereabouts. Light would have to wait this out for a little while to be sure that he can create a well-thought plan and make sure nothing will arise in the meantime. After roughly a month or so of helping L, Light can form a plan to get his real identity. Light is familiar with some of the task force members' real names already. Light uses Matsuda as his. Writing in the death note, Tada Matsuda, heart attack, dies a month from now. Meets a Shinigami once he gets home. The Shinigami reveals the death note and that Kira has one too. As well, Matsuda can be given eyes which let him see who has death notes, which will make it easier to find Kira. Matsuda accepts the ideal. Later, when Matsuda goes to meet up with everyone on the Kira investigation, bringing a sheet of regular paper with him and keeping it hidden on him as well as the death note, keeping that hidden on him as well, putting both items in an envelope. There, he sees everyone's real names and faces. Matsuda memorizes the name of the man with gray hair, and when the Kira investigation ends for the day, while leaving the building, he requests to speak to Light privately for a moment. Matsuda hands Light the death note, which gives Light his memories back, and Matsuda writes down the real name of the man with gray hair on the sheet of paper he brought with him, giving that sheet of paper to Light once he's done writing. Matsuda then goes back about his daily life and doesn't share information about the death note with anyone else except Light Yagami. If Matsuda gets any pictures of humans from anyone calling himself L, he will share the name of that person with the entire task force. Now Light has the death note back with him as well as the real name of the man who's been standing in for L, Quilishawami. Light can then later that same night write down this man's name, Quilishawami, heart attack, dies 1 month from now. Investigates everyone working on the Kira case, specifically the task force and the identity of L. Attempts to go to where the man giving him orders is located at. If unable to locate the man giving himself orders, he personally contacts that man and requests to bring him information directly to him. Wami sees the man giving him orders and secretly takes photos of him as to not be noticed by anyone. Wami then takes these photos and sends them all to each of the task force members. Matsuda gets the photo of the real L, seeing his real name, which he then sends to all the task force members including Light Yagami. Light Yagami then sees the real face and has the real name of L. However, Light still can't be 100% sure if this is the real L, so he repeats the process again. Having each name and face, he reveals attempt to see if they can find any more stand-ins for L, as well as having each person delete as much data on Kira as they can. However, once Light tries this on the real L, he won't get any other photos of anyone else higher up, which will tell Light that this last photo and name were probably that of the real L, which means Light has killed the real L. As well as L's stand-in, Watery, and Matsuda will also be killed. So in conclusion, who wins between Light and L if both characters were to play perfectly against each other? Well, it seems as though if Light can remain unsuspicious, he can manage to get close enough to L and find out his identity and kill him. Without any direct correlation connecting Light to Kira, L didn't have any way to really prevent Light from killing him. So if both characters played perfectly, Light should win. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you think. Do you think L would win if they both played perfectly, or do you agree with my conclusion? Let me know your thoughts in the comments.